hoping that we can partner with you to make sure that we stay on top of this and understand what this project entails, the pitfalls of this project, in my opinion, and to make sure we work together toward a common goal. So I want to thank you all for coming and being part of this program tonight. So I am joined by, Representative Stephen Talley from Fitchburg, who also represents one precinct in Lunenburg. Representative Sheila Harrington from Groton, who also represents Townsend, Pepperell. Yeah, we all represent him. Representative John Slotnick from Gardner. And we have Tilly Ryan here from State Senator Flanagan's office, right here. We also have from Senator Warren's office, Jeremiah Montgomery Thompson. And so I'm very happy that many of our federal delegations sent representatives tonight, because they're going to be a big partner with us in this as well. Kate Matchett, is that right? Matchett, yeah. From U.S. Senator Ed Markey's office. And Russell Pandras is here for Congresswoman Nikki Songus. Thank you all for coming. So I just wanted to just start off tonight and welcome you. Everyone will have a chance to ask questions. I encourage you to. But we're going to start off the evening with a presentation so that we have some base information. I know many of you have seen this, but many of you may have not have. So this is an opportunity to get sort of the overview of this project as it stands. And then we'll open it up for questions and comments from any of the legislators or the public. So thank you very much. So from Kinder Morgan, oh my goodness, again, I need this. We have Alan Ford. If you want to come up and get me up, Stephen Kenny, and Rick Charbonnier they are going to present this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representatives, and also one of the rest of our team introduce themselves and what you do for the company. Curtis, you want to start?
Curtis Cole, commercial. Mark Hammer, project manager.
Good evening, and I'm Jim Hartman. I'm with the Land Department.
Okay, and we wanted to bring a team tonight that could respond to what I'm sure will be a lot of questions, and we'll be prepared to do that. So, I'm Alan Ford, Vice President for Public Affairs at Kinder Morgan, the parent company of Tennessee Gas Pipeline. And I'll do this relatively quickly because I know some of you have seen this before. This is the 25th presentation we've given at town halls across the country, across the state. We have a few new things we want to talk about tonight, including the customers we announced last week. But just as an overview of our footprint across the United States, this shows our natural gas footprint and the 70,000 miles of pipe we have across North America for natural gas. We are a natural gas transportation company. We don't drill for gas, we don't sell gas, we simply transport the gas. And these are the pipes that transport natural gas to the United States. We are the leading transporter of natural gas in the United States. The natural gas comes from shale regions. These are shale deposits all across the country. And you look back at our map, and you can see that we cover most of the shale plays in the country, so we can transport natural gas from all shale plays across the country, virtually all shale plays. The system we're talking about in Massachusetts is the Tennessee Gas System. That's 13,000 miles of that 70,000 mile system you saw previously. This system has been transporting natural gas to southeast and northeast United States for 60 years. A major transporter of natural gas to 35 million homes across the southeast and northeast United States. We are a customer-driven company. We service customers. We transport gas from the shale regions to these customers who are currently part of our distribution system, delivering gas to these customers. I'm sure many of you recognize these customers who deliver ultimately to homes and businesses throughout. This is our current customer base. serving this market for 60 years. Now, these are the towns that currently have natural gas pipelines from Tennessee Gas Pipeline in their jurisdictions. For many, many years, these companies have been serviced, these communities have been serviced by Tennessee Gas. Also, we've had a lot of questions about what does pipeline right-of-way look like. And I've encouraged everyone who asked that question to go out and look what our pipeline right-of-way looks like in the state of Massachusetts and has for 60 years. These are 4 examples here in the region of existing pipeline right-of-way with the same type of pipe that would be in the ground with our new project. And you can see that post-pipeline construction, this is Tennessee Gas pipeline construction in Massachusetts, existing pipeline right-of-way here next to the road, existing pipeline right-of-way here, existing pipeline right-of-way here, existing pipeline right-of-way here. These are typical pipeline construction photos that you could go out and take yourselves of our pipeline and operating in Massachusetts. Why is this important? Because we're talking about an expansion of our existing pipeline system in the state. Expansion of this system. The system has been transporting gas from major providers to Massachusetts. Also facilities. We've had some questions about what facilities are part of the project. Heater stations or valve sites. A picture of a valve site and the size and scope of that and what that looks like. Compressor stations. We've asked for compressor stations. This compressor station was recently constructed in Southwick as part of our Tennessee Gas system. So existing photos of existing facilities similar to what we would have as part of our construction. So in the state of Massachusetts, we have 600 miles of pipeline currently serving customers in the state of Massachusetts. And been serving customers for many, many years. So let's talk about the Northeast Direct project and why we see a need for the project. It's based upon what many of us have talked about for some time. It came to a crisis portion in the last winter heating season. Restrictions on supply. The pipelines to New England are full. These headlines are representative of some of the things that we've heard about. As have the congressional folks talked about the need for additional pipeline infrastructure. Everyone supports this particular project, but these are their own words talking about the need for additional pipeline infrastructure. The governors have also said there's a need for additional pipeline infrastructure. Why? Because of the additional reliance on natural gas, 52% currently of the electricity supply comes from natural gas. Those numbers are going up. As nuclear goes down, fuel oil goes down, coal goes down. The extra need for natural gas is picked up by those other sources of energy being less. The source of the natural gas, too, the source is currently from the Marcellus Shale region. The additional source of gas we're talking about would be from the same region. We're talking about expansion, the same type of gas, the same supply of gas that currently is providing natural gas supply to the region. We talked about additional need for natural gas based upon supply needs, on more reliance on natural gas. That ultimately is, we believe, the impetus for the project. We've also seen particular companies now coming out and speaking more vocally about the need for the project. Whether it's Rotten Electric or others, new pipelines are necessary, new infrastructure is necessary. Not an endorsement of our project, but talking about the need for additional pipeline capacity. Those who deliver gas at the same types of projects, something is necessary. Just last week, the state of Maine is talking about the need for additional pipeline capacity. So what we've been talking about, what we haven't said in the previous 23 town hall meetings we've been at, is our customers. We've been talking about, we're going to announce our customer base. We have local distribution companies that are part of this project. There is a need locally in the region for this project, and these are the customers that are currently signed up that we've announced publicly as part of the project. Many of these, I think all of these actually are current customers. These are part of the expansion system. And they'll also be in the near future talking about the project as well and the need for an outfit in their particular distribution system. So, also important is where we are in this process. So I've said 24 times, 24 town halls, two things have to be met before we pursue the project. One is the commercial needs for the project. Anchor shippers, as talked about in the previous slide. Anchor shippers, 12 local distribution companies distributing gas to the region. We have to have those signed contracts. We don't build pipes based upon speculation or what might be needed. We need the firm customer commitments lined up in order to move forward. We passed that one threshold. We have the 12 local distribution companies and anchor shippers. Second, we have to have a project that we believe can meet the intense scrutiny that will be part of the project by the Federal Regulatory Commission and the state of Massachusetts and the other states as part of the permitting scope of the project. The lead is FERC. Our plan, we're right here right now, our plan is to go in for a pre-filing process, file with FERC next month. And if we do that, we are confident as a company that we can meet and exceed the standards put forth by the federal government and the state of Massachusetts and the United States. We're going to need to get the proper permits to have the project approved, and we'll be, by that filing, indicating our confidence in doing that. So those are the two steps, the commercial step, the permittable step. And when we file, and we anticipate doing that in September, it's our indication that we feel we can meet both of those challenges. So, the process. These 24 plus meetings, we've had public meetings, are informal and not required by any unit of government. We haven't filed for a single permit yet on this project. That process begins with the pre-filing. And that's not filing our permits, that's not filing our permits with the state of Massachusetts. That's a pre-filing process. It's a year-long review process of public comment and input, starting with open houses this fall and winter. Likely, this is what the schedule will be. Then in the spring, scoping meetings. Those are public meetings sponsored by the Federal Regulatory Commission. And we expect there will be 10 or more of each of these types of meetings throughout the state over the next 6 months. That is forthcoming. Also, as part of the FERC process, we're going to file resource reports. The resource reports will talk about the public need, what we believe is the need for the project. We'll also talk about routing. We'll identify what is our preferred route. It will also identify alternatives that we have looked at for this route. That will be part of the scoping process for the pre-filing. And this is a copy of our route as it stands now. I can tell you there have been a number of modifications to the route since we first announced this several months ago. Probably hundreds of minor adjustments on the route. But this is the general path and corridor that we are looking at. This is really a survey corridor, about a 400-foot survey corridor that we're looking at to determine the constructability of this particular project. And we'll continue to find them out. As we talk with landowners and regulatory agencies, we're continuing to look at how we can refine this route to make it more constructible, more permissible. Some of the things that we've done is met with state agencies. We met with Department of Energy and Environment. We met with them multiple times. More recently, to talk about areas of the project that are particularly sensitive in the view of the energy environment and the subordinate agencies. What are the more sensitive areas? Are there areas where we could adjust the routes particular to that? Taking a look at that. We met with the Department of Transportation. Representative Harrington was urging us to do that, and we have. We're talking to the Department of Transportation. Are there areas where we can co-locate more with existing state infrastructure, highways, roadways, Route 2, or other roadways where there is availability to co-locate? It's not as simple as putting it next to it. You have to have constructability, you have to work with the state. But the state has indicated willingness to work with us, and we are pursuing that. In addition to hundreds of conversations with our hundreds of landowners, individual conversations, and finding if there are ways that we can be more attuned to what their particular interests are on a piece of property. Those conversations are ongoing and will be ongoing throughout the review process over the next several months and years. But this is the general corridor we're looking at, with the project terminating in Drake, Massachusetts. Also part of the project are a number of laterals. Laterals are smaller pieces of pipe to connect certain areas at customer request, including the Fitchburg lateral, which I'm sure we'll talk about this evening. This may change based upon what our customers need and what our final project footprint looks like. But this is where we're looking at. And these are smaller pipes. So we're talking about the mainline pipe being a 30 or 36 inch pipe. The laterals smaller than that, 24, 26 inches more or less. All still in final development. And when we file with the Federal Regulatory Commission for our pre-file, at that time, our route will be our preferred route. It will be public. And at all these open houses that we will have alignment sheets down to the very tracts of property that you'll all be able to come in and take a look at. Right now, the route is still in development. We have the town map that some of you have seen that show the core that we're looking at. But even here on the Fitchburg lateral, here in the area, we're looking at adjustments to that route, which we'll probably talk about tonight. So still in development, the route that we file in September will be our preferred route for public review. The regulatory process is extensive. I've mentioned the Federal Regulatory Commission is the lead federal regulatory agency. There's also the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Army Corps of Engineers, and several other agencies, as well as state agencies, Department of Energy and Environment. The state legislature does have a role if we cross state lands. All of these agencies have a part of the permitting process. And none of this review has started yet. We haven't filed any permits. Again, that process will begin with the pre-filing next month. The FERC process, too, is a very lengthy and detailed and public process. FERC.gov has a detailed analysis of the review process that I encourage you to take a look at. These diagrams are on there, and you can see the steps in the process. And you'll be able to access all the documents that are filed related to the project once that process begins next month. These are the list of towns that we anticipate to be part of the project route. Somewhere in the jurisdiction of these towns, our route may impact. And this is a little closer look at the area too. And we mentioned the Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce was co-hosted the meeting tonight, and the area of coverage that they have. And we have copies of these maps here tonight available, as well as the presentation itself. We'll be happy to provide that to anyone who would like it, or if the chamber wants to post it on its website, however we would like, so we can take more time and look at this in your own time. The project benefits are pretty extensive. I think you saw a lot of the orange shirts here tonight. That's the laborers union supporting our project. We expect 3,000 construction jobs to be part of this. We've signed an agreement with the laborers union to make the project 100% union labor. Those jobs would be during the construction of this project. We're also seeing some additional folks coming forward and talking about the project. I know well by personally speaking at all 24 town halls that there's significant opposition to a project like this, and we anticipate that, but I think it's also to point out that a lot of folks are also supporting it and recognizing the importance of the project back in the future. So as part of our commitment to local communities, we plan to be very open and transparent about the process, what we're doing, how we're doing it. This will be part of a much bigger policy debate than just one pipeline. Is natural gas the preferred energy for New England's future? How much natural gas is needed? How big of a pipeline? Where do renewables play in this? Lots of questions, lots of discussion, and we're certainly happy to discuss our role in this and what our company does and how we do it. And again, what we're doing and how we're doing it, we ask you to take a look at what we're doing currently in the state of Massachusetts, and we plan to do the same type of thing over the next several years. That's a lot of outreach and a lot of talking to folks at public meetings. That's partnering with communities in areas that we serve. And it's also, at the end of the day, if we build a project, I just put this slide in here tonight because I think it's important that if a project goes forward as part of the mitigation process, some of the things that we do as a company to partner and be creative about making this project the least impactful that we can. For example, we just completed a project in New Jersey and partnered with the Highlands Council and the State Department of Environmental Protection, where we did impact land conservancy area. To mitigate for those impacts, we bought 147 acres of prime forest to compensate for the temporary impacts of that conservation area. So it was a creative way for that particular group. We're familiar with the Highlands Council. It's a well-respected organization in Jersey regarding land conservation and protection. Those are the kind of partnerships we want to look for. First of all, we want to see how can we adjust the route of the pipeline to adjust for impacts. If we can, then we want to talk about how we can mitigate. These are examples, specific examples of how we've partnered with environmental organizations and other NGOs to try to make the project least impactful as possible. I know I went through it very fast, but I wanted to leave time for questions, and we're happy to as you see fit.
Thank you. All right. So that was quick, but I think it's more important to leave time for discussion. So maybe don't push it too far, although I'm going to give my colleagues a chance to talk. But first of all, I want to also recognize Lunenburg Selectmen Chairman Tom Alonso and Jamie Toll is here. Any other local elected officials? And where are you from? Lunenburg. Oh, yeah. Oh, Phyllis, yes. Hi. Yep.
Ashley, select,
Great.
Lucio, chair of the
Excellent. Welcome. Welcome. So, oh, yes. Oh, okay. Paula Birch, I'm also from Lunenburg. I see you're not sitting together. We don't want to have a quorum, right? Yeah. All right. So now I want to invite up any of my colleagues who would like to make a statement, give an update of what they're working on. One thing I have to say is I am really fortunate to work with a terrific delegation. And I think we have really come together on this issue and many others that affect the region. And so I think it's important for you to know that we're a team, political party, town, doesn't matter. We work together when it affects our region. So I'm really excited that they could be here tonight. So maybe Sheila, would you like to?
Thank you, and I've probably talked to some of you before, but I feel like every time I get up I have a little different bit of information, or I'm working on a little something different. I would reiterate what Representative Benson said, and it has been really great, and there are so many aspects to this issue, and I can tell you that different representatives are sort of taking different areas of the issue and running with it, and so we're not all focusing all the time on the same aspect of what we consider to be a big issue to our citizens here in Massachusetts. One of the things that we are doing is we have put forth a resolution in the House that unfortunately didn't make it through informal session, but we have proposed a resolution in the House of Representatives that there be a moratorium on any activity with regard to this until the new session begins again in January. We did not make it through formal session just because time ran out, but it is something that I've been advised can happen through informal session. So as soon as I'm aware, I will make my colleagues aware, and we can inform everybody of that. In addition, there was another bill that did not pass the House of Representatives that also impacts this issue, and it's House Bill 4187. And House 4187 was a bill proposed by the governor, and there were actually some very good things in this bill, but and it really only, I believe, didn't make it because time ran out, as it often does before we get through all the bills of the year. But this bill was also the vehicle through which the tariff could be imposed upon the ratepayers. It was the authorization for the utility companies to be able to put that tariff on the ratepayers, and that did not pass. And I'm not going to say it may not in the next session, but there is a hold on the tariff issue because of that piece of legislation dying its natural death this year. So those are two things. The other major update is that, one, Mr. Gore actually spoke of, and I have spoken with the people of Kinder Morgan. As I think a lot of you are aware, the final decision for the pipeline will actually be made not at the state level, it will be made at the federal level, and it will be made through FERC. If it appears that FERC will decide that it is necessary, if that is the case, then I have urged Kinder Morgan to look at alternative routes using possible existing state rights of way that won't impact private landowners and conservation land as sort of a mitigation in advance, just in case we're not able to stop it because we are not the federal government. We are only the state level, so we don't exactly have that power. If that is to come to play, I know that they have also been met with DOT as well. A group of us will be meeting with Department of Transportation next week to talk to them and look at the DOT overlays across the state, just to see where potentially rights of way that won't impact people exist in the Commonwealth, so that if the state bears the burden of having them located on their land. Finally, the most recent update that I actually just got today, and that is with regard to, I've spoken to people from the Mass Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. And Mass Municipal Wholesale Electric Company is a political subdivision corporation of the state, organized under a particular chapter in the state that I can't quote you, but what they are is they are a non-profit, quasi-public company. And they too have made a bid through NESCO to try to get the ability to put the pipeline through. In speaking with one of their representatives, I know they are looking at an alternative rate, one that potentially follows what they call the 300 line, which is a line that comes through southern New York and Connecticut, and that they think they can pick it up with an existing line or co-locate with an existing line we have here in Massachusetts along the southern part of Massachusetts. Again, we're looking, if a pipeline deemed to be necessary, we're looking at ways to bring it in that are more cost effective and that are less disruptive to our environment and to our private landowners. So I would say, I know there are other people looking at some other angles, working with trying to understand the NESCO process and how this kind of flew by out from under our noses, and some other issues that have arisen. So we pull together when we can and find out where each one stands, but the formal session's over, but we're certainly not done with our meetings, and we will be meeting with somebody from, it's easier to say their nickname is MWEC, they tell me MWEC, so we will be meeting with them as well. So, thank you.
Folks, this is a demonstration of how important it is to the people in this region, obviously, by, being a nice, warm, sultry, humid night, coming out to listen to this presentation. I represent the city of Fitchburg, a small piece, Precinct B in Lunenburg. And there's no other city in the Commonwealth that has more concerns with any energy issues than the city of Fitchburg. So I'm torn. I want to learn more. I haven't gotten any assurances from Kinder Morgan as to whether or not that gas is going to remain in the U.S. Are my ratepayers going to see any reduction in what they're paying? Right. And who's going to pay for the cost of the construction of the ratepayers? So I'm hoping the federal delegation that's here tonight, you carry this message to your people when you leave here tonight, that a great deal rests with you and what happens with FERC. Now again, this is an opportunity to have an impact on the economic disincentive that it is to be a business and a homeowner in the city of Fitchburg. That piece of it is interesting to me. Will it truly reduce the rates that my people, my constituents pay? All right. Well, we need to demonstrate that, have that demonstrated by Kinder Morgan and, I might add, FERC the Department of Public Utilities, and the Department of Energy Resources at the state level, we're all involved in this. The 6 governors of New England all signed off on this. Governor Patrick just recently said that he's concerned. I thought that was interesting. Does that mean he's concerned because it's not as cut and dry as he thought it was? I hope that's the case. So again, I thank you all for coming tonight. And I know, I see the guys back there, the workers. This is going to mean jobs for you, and I appreciate that, and I think that's a great thing. And we shouldn't turn our backs on that either. But not at the cost of private property rights. That's right.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Zlotnick. I represent the city of Gardner and the towns of Westminster, Ashburnham, and Winchendon. And my colleagues did such a great job up here. It's tough to follow. But I do want to say that I have some of the same questions that Rep. Natale has and that a lot of my constituents have contacted me with. And I think the one thing I want to make clear and point out to everybody, remind everybody of, is that however you feel about this project, whether you're for it, against it, or you're just looking for more information, that it's absolutely critical that as this moves forward over the next year, that we keep these lines of communication open between us and the legislature, you and the public, and the good people at Kinder Morgan as well, to make sure that we're all on the same page with whatever happens. Thank you for coming out tonight.
All right, well, I would be remiss to not welcome up here Melissa from the chamber. They're our co-hosts, and then she's going to give a quick update and their inclusion and interest in this issue. And then we're going to open it up for questions. So get your questions ready. There's a mic here, but it's not like it's that packed. I think if you want to stand up and project from where you are, I think we'll be okay.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm the president of the Sugar Valley Chamber of Commerce. I would just like to thank all the representatives and senators that are partnering with us on this tonight. We actually had the opportunity to sit with the folks from Kinder Morgan this morning, and it was a great conversation where they answered a lot of the questions that I think actually some of our representatives have and concerns that representatives might have. I found it very educational. They're very open, from my understanding, my viewpoint. They've been very open to have conversation. And so I'm happy that we can be here to help facilitate this conversation. So I encourage you to ask the questions. All the folks from Kinder Morgan are here to answer, and we're happy to be part of it. So thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, now it's your turn. Where are there some questions? Anybody? Or comments, statements? Yep, please.
My name is Rob Coleman from Lowell, Massachusetts. We definitely share the same ladder. And we extend on that ladder, keep over going down to the Worcester. And I know that contract, next term, what goes through the pipe, 500,000 decades. And according to Kinder Morgan, in a transcript I read at the conference call with the investor, the pipeline is going to carry 2.4 billion negative through the pipeline. And in that conference call, they talked about shipping back to the legislation with the federal liquefied natural gas facility, one was going to save a life by which you can do yourself in this conference call. So my question is, why are we paying for the pipeline when we, at most, when we take 20% of the gas?
Join me here because I think we have the appropriate between land and project management, commercial, we can respond to questions. Curtis, I'll have to talk specifically about our commercial arrangements because he actually manages that piece of our project. But I also think, Curtis, it's important to talk about, because the representatives mentioned it too, about the whole NESCO process and the suggestion that every ratepayer in the state of Massachusetts or in New England is going to be paying for our project. Because the NESCO process is separate from our project. And there's been a great misconception, a lot of misinformation about that. Let me say it again. The NESCO process is separate from our project. We announced last week our customers. Last week, the NESCO process took a torpedo and may not even happen, the governors getting together on something. We announced our customers. They are separate. So the only folks that are going to pay for part of this project are ratepayers who are part of the project, which ratepayers pay for now. As your gas distribution system, if you receive gas, part of your bill is for distribution, transportation of that gas. It's a fact. It happens now. NESCO process may not go forward. Our project will go forward on its own weight and on the contracts and the commitments that we've made with the customers that are listed today in our press release and our press release last week when I showed to you today. That's an important distinction, that the process is a completely separate process. We're not part of the NESCO process. We are part of a separate project that will stand and need to survive the scrutiny, should I add too, of the state of Massachusetts. So the contracts that we have entered into have to be approved by the state DPU. Approved by the state DPU, that this is the most affordable, reasonable gas that these distribution companies can get. It has to survive the scrutiny of the state DPU and be approved, those contracts. So all the speculation and conjecture about the affiliation, all this has to be public and reviewed by the state of Massachusetts. It's not our decision, it's theirs. It's our risk moving forward with the project while that review is still pending. But the difference between our project and the state NESCO process is clear. That process may not move forward. Our project plans to move forward on its own merit. So, Curtis, could you talk about how the local distribution companies fit into it, how our project is an open access pipeline, and our next steps in talking to customers? I think we would answer the question about capacity of the line and how the process moves forward. There's a question we get all.
Thank you very much. So as Alan alluded to, we signed up, reached an agreement, subject to the customary approval process that each LDC has to go through. 500,000, and your reference was to 2.2 BCF a day. That's 2,200. So 500 out of 2,200, we signed up for LDCs as customers. Now the 2,200, the 2.2 BCF a day, is a 36-inch diameter pipeline. We may not put in a 36-inch diameter pipeline. We may put in a 30-inch pipeline. We put in based on what our customers are calling for. So give me an example, like the LNG, potential LNG projects. There's 5 of them out there. There's one off the northern part of Maine. There's 4 up in Canada. Their potential, to the extent that they said to us, we're going to sign a binding agreement for 20 years, just like our other shippers, we would have to enter into a contract with them to ship our gas to Drake it. Then they transport it on another pipeline called Maritimes Northeast Pipeline. The pipeline currently is flowing from Canada into New England to serve New England. Our project, as well as the Spectre's project, could reverse that flow and go into Canada. Now here's the thing. If an LNG shipper refuses to sign a firm contract that's binding over the course of 20 years, we don't contract them. They're not our customers. So what you're seeing now is we announced the LDCs. There's 12 of them. 9 of them we named, and the other 3 are going to be named as soon as they get their proper approval internally. And then we're going to be announcing some additional customers as we go through the next several weeks. We've been negotiating with them for quite a while. We have no problem sharing that information at the appropriate time. Those customers include the state of Maine. It could also include Atlantic Canada customers, customers that are in Canada, but they're not LNG shippers. They can include power customers. Basically, any customer that is willing to pay or enter into a long-term contract will enter into a contract with them. We have to abide by FERC's regulations. So we're very, very pleased with this announcement. We've been working hard. This also demonstrates the need to New England. Our project isn't just the greenfield project into Drayton. But when that gas hits Drayton, it feeds pressure to our existing 200 line, and it benefits all of our customers on our current system. So, in addition to all that, this issue with NESCO, we do anticipate or believe that the power market is absolutely in need of gas. We understand that wind and solar are a big part of that mix. With coal fired plants shutting down, nuclear plants shutting down, ISO New England estimates there's 8,300 megawatts at risk of retirement by 2020. We believe that natural gas is a very good fit to serve the power in this region. So this project not only benefits from a gas perspective, but it also provides and allows energy prices overall to come down. ISO New England estimated that $3 billion this past winter were spent on needlessly for higher energy prices. This isn't us. This is the ISO New England. They operate the grid. They maintain reliability of the entire power system. They estimated that they overspent by $3 billion compared to if there was plenty of capacity. And as Alan mentioned earlier, we're completely full. The reason that your prices are the highest in the nation is because you do not have the available capacity. You go to anywhere else in the country, their prices aren't as high. Why is that? They have the infrastructure. So unfortunately, New England is very close to the most prolific shale play in North America. It's Marcellus Shale. But you can't benefit from Marcellus Shale without the pipeline capacity. We believe this project is going to be one of the key providers to move that gas into your region, lower those prices and the volatility.
Very creative.
All right, any more questions? Oh, yes.
We happen to have listed on that slide all of the towns that are being benefited by the gas that is produced and sent through Massachusetts. I do hope you realize Gardner was not on that list. And I do hope you notice that Ashburnham is not on that list. But the people in Ashburnham are being threatened with eminent domain. And I really don't think that our land should be taken away from us so somebody else can make a mark.
It's my understanding that the overspending that you refer to is a result of what's called shorting. And on the market, when people sign contracts, they may not get the most affordable, but they'll get a consistent rate. And that the overspending was a result of not signing the contracts to afford the affordable rate and taking a chance on it to make profit that they didn't make. So the overspending was this risk that was being taken. So I'd like to understand what you think about that, because it's my understanding that there was no overspending, it was a mistake in terms of their ability to contract affordably for reliable. I have two other questions too, by the way, if that's okay, already.
So what I would do is just refer to the president of the ISO New England's comments. They're the ones that manage and the grid. We don't deal on the power side. We just focus on moving gas to market. But based on his statements and the studies that they've had, for instance, there's another study that showed New England spent $5.2 billion this past winter. That's the equivalent of the entire preceding year. In 2012, since 2012 to this past winter, prices increased by 84%. The key thing here is this region, compared to just to the west, it pays the highest prices by far. It's like 2-3 times what the neighbors to the west did. So,
I'll just go to my next question, just a comment on natural gas here, and I need a big house, and my gas prices have gone down in the last 4 years. So, but my next question is about fraud. It's our understanding that representatives of your company have gone to property owners and told them that they will, unless you're allowed to survey, that they'll lose their property eminent domain. You wave around memos and things like that. And I have a concern about that because it's in the property, it's maybe in the property owner's best interest to not let you on their property. And so that kind of fraud, 137 residents have filed a complaint with the governor at this point, and so I'm, I guess, telling you that and hoping that you inform people here about your practices relative to approaching. And I noticed that I have one last question about citing authority. Thank you.
And I'm Jim Hartman. I'm in the land department, and I deal specifically with the landowners. And one of the processes that we've talked about this evening is the lengthy PERC process. Part of that process involves landowner interaction, and we'll start when we file and won't be completed until approximately 2016. Only after the end of that process, if the federal government determines that the project is in the public need, then they would issue a certificate of public convenience and necessity. And only after that certificate is issued would Tennessee have the ability to utilize as a last resort eminent domain. Now, eminent domain is a hard procedure to discuss with a landowner, any landowner. It's hard for us to bring it up. It's not something that we want to bring up. So no matter in whatever context someone brings up eminent domain, it's usually not friendly. And we try to avoid it, honestly, because our goal, truthfully, is to work with every landowner that we deal with to work out an acceptable agreement. But sometimes we can't do that. No matter what we do, no matter how much time we spend with a landowner, no matter how much information we give them. So at the end of the day, if it goes through the entire process, which is lengthy and a lot of landowner involvement, and town meetings, and comments, and information you can gain from going to the FERC.gov website. If the federal government determines that the project is viable, and we have to construct our pipeline, and there are properties that we can't acquire, then at the end of the day, we don't have any other alternative. Although, we would still honestly work with every owner throughout that entire process, as long as we need to work out an agreement.
And my last question is relative to siting authority, because my understanding about the siting authority without the national interest determination, there is no eminent domain, there is no siting authority, there is no threat. So this whole process depends on this national interest determination. And from what I understand, the national interest determination depends on national security and actual need for the residents, not a need for you as a company. So the distinction will have to be made relative to that, because it's my understanding that you don't need a pipeline that you want a pipeline. And when you say viable, it's not whether or not the pipeline is viable, whether there's a market need, it's
FERC is going to make the determination, and the FERC, by the way, is 5 commissioners appointed by the president that will take a public vote, and a majority vote will be required to determine whether the project receives a certificate of public convenience necessity. And that's going to take in the totality of circumstances, beginning with a review by staff that will take almost 2 years, draft environmental impact statement, final environmental impact statement, and they manage the natural gas distribution system across the country and the construction of pipelines related to that. Thousands and thousands of miles of interstate natural gas pipelines with the Natural Gas Act. That's where this authority comes from, interstate commerce that the FERC has. So, but part of that discussion will be community interest. Part of that discussion will be supply needs. They'll take the totality of the circumstances and vote in the public forum. And until that happens, there is no authority to construct a pipeline. And as part of that certificate will likely come a number of conditions precedent to our construction of the pipeline as well. So even after the FERC certificate is issued, there's often a number of steps that we need to take additionally, some of which may be actually getting certain permits, working out certain interested landowners or other NGOs, all as conditions for us to actually construct the project.
Christine, just one second. I just wanted to follow up actually on a question. Tom? Jim, sorry. So the surveys, I've heard this same issue with landowners around being misled, or they felt they were being misled when asked for access to their property, felt threatened, felt that really questioned the process. And in your response, I didn't really hear a specific response to that issue. So I have heard from property owners who have certainly described the situation similar to what Tara mentioned. And so I want to make sure, as we're working our way through this process, that landowners are being respected in this process, because I do have concerns with how the surveys have been sort of approached.
Sure. And I can absolutely attest that the agents that are working for us, working for me, are handpicked, are trained, know exactly what to do and how to discuss the project with the landowners. It's a hard process to talk about. So as I said, even mentioning eminent domain, you would feel threatened even talking about it. And we don't bring it up. We would let the landowner bring it up. And with the sensitive project, going through the process, trying to have the landowner understand what our needs are and what our rights are, and what we're trying to do to gain access, to perform surveys, certainly respect your property, and respect your opinion. And again, at the end of the day, our goal is to work with the landowner and certainly respect their desires. So
It's very sweet, but then you do it anyway, right? That's what I'm getting at. You try very hard to work in the legal property, but if that doesn't work, you'll go over their heads and do it anyway. I recognize that it's a process that you haven't really outlined that process and all you really saying is talk about eminent domain, which I understand that probably not so great. But what I'm just trying to understand is you're working very hard to respect the property owners, but at the end of the day, if they still refuse to, just kind of follow along and let you do this, you're going to do it anyway.
well, we can't come onto your property unless either you allow us onto your property or
It's already going on.
a governmental
100%.
agency allows us onto your property. So we can't come onto your property unless you allow us or a governmental entity. And if we did, we'd be trespassing, and we don't want to do that.
It's just saying that there are those.
I encourage you to continue, but we do have people lined
line.
So I encourage you to get up and, you know, join
There's a
them.
line here, moderator.
Shut up.
I hear you talking about benefits to our communities. There isn't one thing you have said that benefits our community here. Not one of those companies works with Lunenburg. And not one of these areas, you're saying only benefits to our commercial customers is there. And I'd like to find out who is going to pay for the access to our roads and our communities as you bring your heavy equipment across and as you raid and pillage our lands. And I want to find out who's going to pay for that who's going to pay for it when one of these gas pipelines breaks. I mean, 36-inch diameter is huge. And I've seen in the last year, there have been a couple of places out west in Oklahoma and Texas where pipelines have broken and whole neighborhoods have caught on fire and people cannot go back into the areas that they live. Who's going to pay for that? What kind of backup do you have for our community that we are here? Every benefit you're talking about today that I've heard is not for this area. It is not for our community. It is not for any of the people that you get gas from. And the other thing is, I find it really pathetic that you say you helped buy 147 acres. That's pathetic. I only heard of that. So, you know, that's very little land in the scheme of all this tracts of miles. I don't know why you're not doing more for the environment to help the communities that you're going through. If you want us to ever even consider being on your side, you should consider who we are, and we are not just people to plow through. And I want to find out who's going to take care of us after you guys go and we have our stuff, cleaning up the roads, cleaning up the land, and making sure that our houses don't catch on fire.
We are responsible. And it's the same company that's been responsible for the 600 miles of pipeline we've operated in Massachusetts for 60 years. It's the same company. The same company and the same accountability and support that we have given to all the communities that we've impacted for the last 60 years. It's the same company that's going to be doing that for the new project. Same company. Secondly, to your question about the 147 acres, that's one instance of what I expect to probably be hundreds of mitigation agreements we make across this project. It's one small example of one land trust that we made an arrangement with in cooperation with the state and the Highlands Council. One. I expect there will be hundreds of those. That is not in any representative of all the mitigation we will do. I expect it to be thousands and thousands of acres at the end of the day. But it'll be in cooperation with the state, the FERC, and the organizations and NGOs that are being impacted. That's one representative example of specifics, and you want specifics about what we've done on a recently completed project in New Jersey. You can check it, it's all part of public record. And back to your original question, who's the company? It's the company that's been doing it for 60 years in Massachusetts, the same one.
But who's paying for our roads and heavy equipment?
We are responsible for any impacts we have related to construction, 100% upon the company. So what will happen specifically in all construction, we will go to the communities that have jurisdiction over the roads, for example. And I expect, as we have on other projects, we'll enter into road impact agreements. And we will be responsible for any damage that we cause to those roads. We do this all across the state of Massachusetts, all across the country. We pay for the damage that we cause. Pre-construction, construction, post-construction.
That's nice, but I would like to see that right.
It will be. It will be.
I just want to make a clarification relative to the state commerce clause. That's not a factor in the national interest determination. The national interest determination is to ensure security. In the state commerce clause is to ensure fairness, that we don't block other companies. So if we say no pipeline, and we're sure that it's no pipeline for Massachusetts, that the interstate commerce clause does not apply.
Yes, I do.
Okay. What about in your town? You must have your state. You think giving us money in this state or this town or any other town? No, we don't. We don't. You know what? There's a lot of people that are against it. If this goes a different route,
Yes.
when will and how will we be all notified?
Well,
I think you know how I feel about it,
Right,
the rest of us.
right, no, if this is gonna be going another route, and what, Ms. Ford said and what I said is, at this point right now, talking to the Department of Transportation, because they have a lot of existing rights of way, I would think, I will let people know when I find out if there's any decision being made, but I would also think you're gonna probably hear it in any of these public forums, if something changed in the route, that they start to take existing rights of way, as well as media coverage. But I don't want to say at this point, like I said, they have been talking with them. We're gonna go meet with the Department of Transportation next week, and we're gonna try to set out, look at all different possible options. We know, I know that there's been a rumor that it's gonna be on Route 2, but realistically, it cannot be on Route 2, not the entire way anyway. So, not to say that one of their rights of way that they maybe couldn't afford access to is near Route 2, but there are parts of Route 2 that it won't.
What about 495?
I think it could end up, that's, I think, another possibility that we want to explore with the Department of Transportation. We're wide open with the Department of Transportation. We want to look at all of the unique access routes that they may have, try to see one that they can maybe see fitting into the needs of the pipeline, and then it will come down to the pipeline seeing if it meets their needs as well. So, I think it's not going to be probably like, I don't think we're going to have an answer next Friday, but we're just trying to get parties to talk and look at all different routes all across the state that we might have.
You know yourself, there's a lot of people that are totally against this.
No, I do know, but
I'm sure half of this room in here would agree with me.
Right.
We're against it. And I'm gonna do my best to stop this, whatever.
Good evening, my name is Scott Gustafson. I am the regional organizer of the Laborers International Union of America. Not here tonight to mitigate homeowner issues, that's not what I do. You know what, I understand your concerns. Here tonight to talk about the economic benefit of a pipeline construction project. You see the fellows in the orange shirts, the women in the orange shirts in the back. They all benefit, many of them live along this pipeline track. They're all to support the project. If the project gets built, it's going to get built right with good jobs, pay good wages, and have good benefits for their families so that they can provide their families a good living and send their kids to college. Bottom line, that's why I'm here. I'm usually not too controversial, always almost politically correct, because it's the right thing to do. I don't come to these meetings, again, to mitigate homeowner issues. I come, Representative Benson, Harrington, Donatelli, to speak about the facts of what we do around the country with pipeline construction, and do it very well, and the benefits of it. But more recently, I've been insulted, including tonight, by a few people sitting behind me, who said, these are all temporary jobs, and I'm going to buy a campground for the people who are coming from Texas and Oklahoma to build these projects. That's not going to happen. It used to be a transient industry. It's no longer a transient industry. It's a local job creator, and it will, in fact, create thousands of good construction jobs. We've all been to our construction training center in Hopkins, Mass, where we do a wonderful job of training young men and women in the trades. Representative Donatelli, yes, it will reduce the cost of gas. In New York, they were paying $7 per unit last year with the pipelines in, and we were paying $33 because of the constraints here. 3, 4, 5 times as much money, $4 billion more than New England consumers had to pay because there is not enough capacity here. It just makes sense. I was with Jim McGovern 2 weeks ago. He said, well, the state needs to look into this. We say, well, the federal government needs to tell us what's going on. But it's easy to find the facts. It's easy to find them, and we should all work hard at doing that instead of insulting the people who are responding to a major crisis of energy in the New England region. That's the fact. It's there. In Maine, 2 years ago, we built out one of the worst states in the country for energy. The highest prices of fuel oil, the highest uses of fuel oil, the dirtiest oil, the dirtiest fuel for heating your homes. Does more damage to the environment. Decided to bring in natural gas. Not only did 4,600 new customers sign up immediately year, there's 8,000 new customers that they have to convert homes to. All of the paper mills in Maine are now converting their mills to natural gas. All of the hospitals are now anchor customers on that line. All of the municipalities are hooking up on that line. Not because it's bad, because it's cheaper. Because it's cheaper and it creates, it's an economic boost and it creates jobs. Those are the facts, okay? Not usually very controversial about this. But it gets me upset when people dismiss the hard work that construction workers do. I pulled in here tonight. See the school, I know it. It's my job to track every project in the window. I see the school construction going on. Love it. It's fantastic. It's good for the town, it's good for construction, and it's great for the kids. It's great for the kids who are going to get an education here and try to go out and find a job after high school. That's what we do. The kids that don't decide to go to college, we try to come to them, give them an opportunity to enter the trades so that they have a very good paying construction job, a construction career, benefits, so that they can live a nice life and retire someday. And then for the kids who do graduate and go on to college, like my son, who just graduated from Mass Maritime with an environmental protection, marine safety degree, not going out to sea, not going out on an oil rig. He's looking for a job on a pipeline as an environmental health and safety officer. These projects create jobs beyond the temporary jobs that everybody thinks they create. And here's the other part of it. The LDCs that are hooking up, they're not hooking up just to get enough gas to create electricity. They're going to expand their distribution lines, their distribution systems, so people can enjoy cheaper energy costs here in the region, which we all really need. But will create more jobs than this project will create over the next 20 years in construction of that distribution service that we supported with all of you on the Energy Leaks bill so that they can fix those problems in Boston. It's not really the transmission lines that leak. It's the distribution lines. They're fixing them. And the technology today is much different. So, you gotta get educated on this. I'm not here, I feel bad for homeowners who are struggling with the fact that I'm hoping that you can find some alternative groups out so that it's impacting as few people as possible. You know we do this with you everywhere. They're a fantastic company. They deserve sometimes a little bit better treatment, but again, you know, I understand the emotion of this. We're just asking you to open your eyes, think about what's really happening here, what the real needs are, and go out and find out the information like I did, a stupid construction worker. I know more about this industry than I know about a lot of things, because I went out and got the education on it. So when I came to meetings like this and spoke in front of very good people who are concerned about their community, I wouldn't sound like an idiot. And I'm not, and by all means, I'm not saying that you do either. I'm just saying, get educated, and it's really, really important. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
We've been up on the FERC site. We understand and have seen and have downloaded the flow chart. It only goes one way, which is to yes, there are no laterals going on in other directions. There are 6 pages of detailed instruction, single space, about how people are allowed to comment. This is not a process that is particularly friendly to individuals, residents, but it is much more easily engaged by FERC attorneys and with large organizations who have very deep pockets. So to say that we're all going to have a chance to comment, I think begs the question about who can comment, how difficult it is to comment, and to actually have a voice. Thirdly, around FERC, there is the same process going on in British Columbia right now. Kinder Morgan is running a project called the Trans Mountain Project through Vancouver in British Columbia. They are now in the process with their federal energy board, like the FERC process here. And a couple of things that have happened in that process. The interveners, which is anybody who comments on the project, they have submitted more than 400 questions. Kinder Morgan has only answered 200 and some. And those answers are deemed by the city, by most organizations, and every intervener has been inadequate, unresponsive, lacking in transparency. The one question they did answer was about the fact that they would not reimburse first responders in the case of a safety issue and any kind of explosion or thing that may happen. So I beg to differ with you there. That's from the brief articles in the last several weeks from the Vancouver Times. Now, to my question. I'm sorry, I'm long-winded. Given the fact that you only have 50% of the homeowners across the state of Massachusetts who've given you the opportunity to survey, most towns have denied you permission to survey the public lands. I believe 26 towns have passed non-binding resolutions opposing the pipeline. Our state reps, our senators, and every major environmental group in the country has raised serious objections to this project, the scope of it, the cost of it, the list goes on. I am wondering, given all of that and your intention to collaborate with us, why you are not slowing down the project, why in fact you are speeding it up and going in September and not October for the pre-filing. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me at all. Thank you.
On the process for your last question, because I do want to respond to your question. I won't respond to every comment that was made in any time of the question, but the process. Understand that the process that we have identified that's available on the slide in our fact cards is our proposed schedule. It's our proposed schedule. The regulatory agencies may have a different opinion. We are proposing that schedule, and we're going to have some consultations with FERC about that very soon. They have not approved our schedule, our proposed schedule. And when we file for the pre-filing piece, September, October, that begins a process. It begins a process. So we're not accelerating anything. If we're not comfortable in September with filing, remember the things I talked about at the outset, do we have our commercial piece in hand? Do we have our comfort level with the permitting process that we can begin it? Because as we stand here today, no process has begun. So if in September we're comfortable that we can begin the process and have a meaningful discussion for that first year, remember, the first year is pre-filing. We won't file for our certificate, we won't file for our permits until the fall of 2015. So what we need to be comfortable September, October that we're ready to file to let that formal conversation begin. Right now, we're planning to meet that schedule. But until we do, we haven't, and no formal process has begun.
And I guess I would ask, where are the other 2 groups that you must submit to FERC? We haven't heard
we will identify alternatives as part of our application. I suspect, we talked about this in public meetings before, that we'll talk about Route 2, we may talk about the Mass Pike, we may talk about 495. We haven't made that final analysis yet, but we're going to identify some alternatives. And that's not the end of the alternative discussion. That's the beginning of the discussion. Others may have additional information to share. Other alternatives may be put forth by the state, by the FERC, by other entities. And all of that will be part of the discussion that goes on for the year-long process of public input as part of the pre-filing process.
Can I ask, excuse me, 1 second, I just want to ask Alan. You know, with this, the age we live in, with technology, you give me the license plate from the satellite out in space. Why is it so difficult to get more exact maps of what you're talking about?
Yeah!
We have identified in the maps that we've shared with the towns, and shared with your office, and shared with the public, to the town level, which the town level map identifies a survey corridor, a 400-foot corridor. That corridor, within that corridor, we believe will be our proposed route. And I've also mentioned that we have made probably hundreds of adjustments to what you see there on a very high level. That's obviously a space station level that you're looking at right there. We've made additional adjustments. So any maps that we put out beyond that, people have asked us, give us a map of every tract on your project. We would be giving out new maps every day because we're changing it every day. What we will do, and I've told every town that we've talked to, is when we file and we have our open houses, all of you can come in to the open houses and we'll have maps with alignment sheets, with all the tracts of property that we're actually planning to put this route on. That was part of the public process.
What's that?
That will be, if we file in September, which is our plan at this point, if we file with FERC, we'll also then identify in consultation with FERC the open house dates. Also, as part of our application, we're going to have the route identified there. But to make it easy for public review of this very long route, we'll have these alignment sheets and maps. So specifically, October, November, we'll have specifics on the route.
Have you ever been denied what you filed?
And I get that question a lot. Every town hall, I think, I've been asked that. We have not been denied on a project that we've taken through full FERC analysis. The answer is no. The rest of that answer is how many projects never make it that far and never make it to the filing of the FERC process with Kinder Morgan? Hundreds. We don't pursue them because we have made the analysis internally as the largest pipeline operator in North America that we can't permit those projects, or they don't meet the commercial standards to support the financial viability of the project. Hundreds. There are probably dozens in New England now that you're never going to see because they don't meet the criteria of being permittable and commercially viable. If we begin our process with FERC, if we actually begin the process, we're confident that we're going to meet it. We're not going to start a process they won't believe we can do.
All right, that's it. There's people lined up if you have questions. And so if you have a question, line up, because I think once we get through the line, we're going to have to cut it off to get out of the building on time.
Three quick questions. How long did it take to come up with this map? How many months did you work on coming up with this map?
Yeah, my name's Mark Hamrich. I'm a project manager for Kinder Morgan. We've been looking at the company at this route for over 2 years in development, or even longer, as far as the concept of bringing gas into New England and what the route should be. And one of the alternatives that we didn't talk about was, why didn't we come down our southern route, the existing route? So it's been over 2 years in development, looking at this route.
You're 30 days short of your pre-file, and you still don't have alternative routes. So to me, that shows me, as an engineer, that you're really not concerned with this alternative route at all. You're basically just focused on that.
When we developed the route, we did look at a lot of alternatives. We looked at highway corridors. One of the things that in the history, typically with natural gas pipelines, it's hard to locate with interstate highways. a couple of reasons. You've got safety issues because you've got a pipeline and you've got to maintain it, which and other things. You've got limited quarter, but bottom line is, through the process, what we found is the state of Massachusetts is saying, hey, why don't we talk to you guys? And typically the DOTs haven't been willing to let us talk to them, so that kind of opened up the discussions on the route on the highways. But during the process, we have been looking at alternatives, and during the process now, we're going to have to document and lay out, okay, this is the preferred route, these are alternative routes, these are the comparative analysis on the routes.
So when are you going to release those alternatives?
Part of the FERC filing that we're looking at from the pre-filing, in mid-September, there's two resource reports. Resource report 1 is your project description, what your project is, what your market is, things like that. Resource report 10 is alternative analysis. Part of resource report 10 is to show the alternatives you're looking at. So that's the first thing FERC sees and the public sees is here's a preferred route, here's all the alternative routes. That starts the process of firming up the routes prior to filing in 2015.
Okay, so you released the primary route, right? You have to have a map of that. Generally, it's not very, detailed. But why don't you release the alternative routes in the same fashion?
Well, we've talked about we really don't have specific, we're still analyzing the map, so as part of the process, this started out as informal public education and communication, and the questions have gotten more and more detailed, and we're trying to respond to those. So we're looking at the public, the process, the formal process, to go through the FERC filing. We have our meeting with the state, and we plan to share some of the alternatives out at the state level prior to FERC. But the primary alternatives are the Route 2 corridor, there's a Route 90 corridor, there's an existing black line down that corridor, and there's a couple of other power corridors that we've been evaluating also.
One more short question here. How many companies currently, gas distribution companies, serve over the southern?
We have a list of
It's approximately, I believe it's really around 10.
That's all?
Okay.
Just the 200 line? Oh, no.
No, the big southern, the high pressure line runs along the south.
Yeah, there's a list of them on the slide here.
Yeah, okay, so it's interesting that you're saying you could build a southern pipeline with just like 9 customers. I mean, it goes back to every single slide you showed us tonight. Said that the reason for this pipeline is because we need more electrical generation. We need more gas for electrical generation. Yet, have you signed a single contract with a single electrical generating type of company for this pipeline, for this specific pipeline?
The answer to that is no, not yet. The reason that is the ISO New England's structure for power generators, the way the structure currently is in place, power generators are not encouraged to buy from transportation. So what happens, I'll give you an example. There's in January 7th of this year, 11,000 megawatts is normally available in capacity. Only 3,000 that was actually operating because they didn't have natural gas. What this NESCO structure is all about, the whole purpose of that is to put a structure in place that provides incentives for the power generators to hold firm transportation, which increases reliability. So it's a process.
I mean, it just seems like you have more about distribution companies in your slides. You have nothing about distribution companies. All you did was bring it up and said that's the reason why you want to build this pipeline.
Well, the first wave, sorry, I apologize for interrupting. I didn't mean to cut you off there. The first wave of announcements are the LDCs. They primarily are the ones serving gas distribution customers and power customers in the state. They have the biggest footprint. But there are other players. In fact, there's a number of companies, both on the power generation side, as well as municipal utilities that are asking us for service that we can only provide if this line goes in. Keep in mind, we haven't been able to even quote anybody a price all capacity to a new power plant because we just don't have that capacity. That's what this project will enable us to do.
So, how do you know you don't have capacity? How do you know that you haven't artificially held down your distribution to inflation prices?
Well, it's all on the system. You can go out. It's up on the internet. You can track it. We're 99% full. We usually have like a BCF of requests on a nomination basis every day that in the winter that exceeds our capacity. We cover. Just 5 years ago, we used to flow interruptible transportation. Because of the Marcellus gas hitting this region, we are completely full now. There's no IT that flows. Our system is just chock full. And it's not just our pipeline, it's our fellow pipelines. Their systems are completely full.
I'm just going to quickly ask everyone a question and maybe one follow-up, but we want to make sure we get through everybody in line. We need to be out at 9. So, thank you.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Scott touched on the construction jobs piece, also the labor union, director of policy in the region. I had the opportunity to look at our work across the country in this effort and policy discussions, and I want to thank the chamber of commerce representatives that are here. And also part of the economic discussion is that New England is missing out on an incredible opportunity. It's happening to the west of us, it's happening to other parts of the country where there's readily available, cheap supply of natural gas. It impacts long-term businesses being able to tap into that gas, invest in their workforce, having that resource of energy. It happened in Maine. Paper mills, that entire industry has been down to earth. They were ready to close. But that opportunity to tap into some cheap natural gas helped them reinvest in their workforce. So there's an opportunity for reshoring jobs. I know it seems far-fetched, but the opportunity is there, and I think for the Chamber of Commerce members talking about that, the opportunity is there. Construction jobs are great, they're going to be there. Yes, they are temporary. The long-term jobs piece of investing in and utilizing a cheap source of energy is critically important for the Massachusetts economy. We are missing out right now. Solar is great, wind is great. We do that construction. 2 of the largest wind farm contractors in the country employ those guys and those aren't sure. We've weatherized in the last 2 years in the state alone. The guys that aren't sure, we've weatherized over 15,000 units in Massachusetts. We understand. We get those environmental concerns. I understand there's a lot of homeowner concerns as well. I'm not going to try to address those. I'm trying to take that away. It's just I think that the opportunity for cheap natural gas in this region is important to consider. Thank you.
I think my comments are mostly to the federal representatives. I'm talking partly about the jobs issue. This is a report from the National Institute for Science, Law, and Public Policy. They say every dollar sucked up by a large utility scale project is a dollar that cannot be invested in rooftop solar, smart inverters, battery storage, small scale hydro, smart appliances, and other technologies that will result in long-term community-based jobs and manufacturing. The big projects tend to be one-time deals that primarily feed short-term construction jobs and provide rewards for bondholders, investors, land speculators, and utilities base rate return on capital assets. The 18 of the world economies were just evaluated for their energy efficiency initiatives. The United States came in 3rd from the bottom. Germany was at the top of the list. They're the leading edge. And what they're using to move away from carbon, nuclear, and towards renewable is mostly rooftop solar. And they're considering a 7-year moratorium on gas. So I think if the federal representatives will start to do their jobs and stop trying to prop up the utility model, which is on its way out, that's what we need to be free from.
I think that Kinder Morgan got off on the wrong foot in Massachusetts. I think that you could have handled things better, and you wouldn't have house after house after house full of people who are just straight out angry with you. You came in here with both barrels blasting. You sat up in your offices in town
state and said, green, 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 yeah, pipeline. That is not what Massachusetts is about. Massachusetts has laws on the book that give us the right to buy private land and set it aside for conservation. You've told us before, I've got a notebook here full of your statements. You've told us before, you looked at the southern route, and you just can't make it work because the houses are too close now, blah, 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 blah. But the problem is that you can't get the line to drink it, you can't compete with Spectra, you can't get your gas to Canada, and the people who think we're going to have cheap gas need to do some reading at the Natural Gas Intelligence website, some of the other pro-gas websites that are telling the story that once that gas starts being bid on by other countries, any savings that we thought we were going to have is going to be all gone. I have nothing against people who want jobs, but I'm afraid I'm not willing to trade someone's ability to find a job for the beauty of the land and our farmers and our conservation. I'm just not willing to do it. And I think that there's a lot of people in Massachusetts who feel the same way. And I wish that you had come out originally back in, there's notes in here that I've seen back in January and even earlier, where you made forays into the area to try and get some information. You should have come out, you should have come to our representatives, and you should have said, this is what we want to do, this is our desire, how can we make this happen without destruction? And that's what we're looking at, people. I'm sorry, we're looking at destruction.
What I have kind of started off with a couple bullets, sort of evolved into more. But piggybacking on that, there's a lot more happening beyond our backyards. We're witnessing the destruction of the biosphere as we know it. The pipelines appear to be minor engagements, but they are only a small piece of the picture that should not be ignored. Pipelines are short-sighted quick fix at best. I believe in 2003 it was, with the help of Dick Cheney, Halliburton, and other energy giants, the Supreme Court ruled that the oil and gas industries to be exempt from the Clean Air and Water Acts of the 60s and 70s. So, in hydraulic fracturing, which is what we should really be paying attention to as well, along with these gas lines, also known as fracking, over the course of the life of a well, one well requires 400 to 600 18-wheeler tanker trucks of fresh water, which only 200 to 400 tanker trucks of wastewater is recovered from the well site. Think about the energy required in just that. So there are hundreds of thousands of wells across the United States. We're talking about trillions upon trillions of gallons of water. So also, 1 in 20 cement casings fail in fracking. So what are they putting in this water in these well sites? Drill lubricants, boron, formaldehyde, anti-corrosive agents, antifreezes, and other proprietary chemicals that can't even be disclosed, that are being mixed with water and pumped into the ground to stay there for indefinitely, for all we know. The wastewater that comes up is disposed of in open field pits to evaporate, and are even sprayed into the air to evaporate in the sunlight as a mist. The methane that vents off these well sites collectively is far more harmful to the environment than all of the emissions by the automobile infrastructure alone, because methane is 10 times more effective at trapping infrared greenhouse gas. It's a greenhouse gas. 10 times more effective than carbon dioxide. So thousands and thousands of citizens across the country have been lighting their taps on fire that have had their well water disrupted and contaminated by nearby drilling sites, who are now without water. Kinder Morgan, who before I came here looked at, bought out Enron when they went bankrupt. Just interesting. These companies are so wealthy that it's easier and cheaper to cut corners and to deal with small claims and lawsuits to steamroll small towns and communities rather than to do things the right way. It's more economically sound in their eyes. It makes more money. So the gas industry itself is what is driving up the need for energy consumption. Remember I was talking about all the tanker trucks. exponentially increasing need for cyclical exchange of money and consumption. The system is based upon infinite growth, which is impossible. Audit the Fed, a private institution that many don't know, the Federal Reserve that controls all of our money is a private institution. Audit the Fed, the private institution that controls the planet's money, wealth, debt, and therefore controls the planet's resources. And also watch Gasline, the documentary. There's Gasline 1 and Gasline 2, and an unbelievable wealth of information that everybody should be aware of. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a couple resident. I'm also a chemical engineer and environmental engineer. I am very concerned about running this pipeline to the conservation areas of Pepperell, as well as all the other towns. There's no reason for it from an engineering standpoint. I feel like it's simply a monetary decision on your part. So I would like to ask you a simple yes or no question to the government here. Will you seriously evaluate other alternatives in detail? And have you instructed your consultants to do so? There's only a month left. It's a yes or no, sir.
Yes.
Every bit as detailed as what you've done here. And you're going to go around to all those communities that would be affected on the alternatives to talk to them.
May not be as detailed in every case.
Or it may
The
not.
ones that set out.
You made a decision. Have you made a decision?
No, not really.
Yeah, I look forward to the detailed report, and we will hold accountable any engineer that works on it, any wetland scientist that works on it, and we'll hold you accountable to review it. If it's not honest, if it's not detailed, we'll take it. Understood?
I'm not a political person, but I was working on this. I've seen how hard you guys work, and I don't think you make a minimum wage for the number of hours you put in. So thank you first of all for that. What I'd like people to know that you can do, our representatives, there's a website called Seeking Help. It's a financial website, and you can sign on it. You can get a free, by just getting an email, you get free access to it, and look at the Q2 conference call from Kendra Morganton Investment. And what you need is very different than what we're hearing tonight. They're telling their investors a very different story than what we're hearing tonight. And I hope that you have a chance to look at it and read it thoroughly. The second thing that I want to bring up, just to our state representatives, I learned during this process that they pay taxes differently than we do. In our town, we pay real estate taxes on our house. We changed the system so it's not based upon what we pay for it, but what the current market value is. The pipeline is depreciated. When they say they're going to pay $25 million in taxes on a new pipeline, you got just a new pipe. That's only the first year. Every year it's depreciated. I looked up the records in Bolton, where I don't know, we have a 6, 8, 10-mile stretch of pipeline now, and I, as a landlord, would pay more in real estate tax than Kinder Morgan. So I'm asking you to change the rules, because the pipeline doesn't really depreciate. If they want to sell it at the depreciated value, I'll be the first one to buy it. So why do they get a break? Why do we have corporate welfare, and we have to pay the full amount? Thank you very much.
About a year and a half ago, and I don't do public speaking very often, but I find myself more increasingly political since I bought a house. And I'm a geochemist, and I understand there needs balance in inform you and help you create a better route or evaluate the route. And it's been 21 days. Now, I do have a lot of plans at work, but if you're really concerned about working with this town, I would hope that you would deliver the map by then, and by now.
As Chair of the Board of Selectmen of Lunenburg, I was at that meeting that she just referenced. And yes, that was my point as well. I will start by saying, as an elected official in one of the towns, and there are many on your list that are affected by the pathway, one of the things that I'm here to be able to do, and I was elected to do, is keep the people of the town informed and certainly keep them protected about what is going on in the town. And as someone who has what I believe, or I perceive to be, a pretty severe public relations problem across this region and maybe out west as well, I know out west of Massachusetts. I was a little concerned that you came and did a presentation to us just several weeks ago, and you were contacting property owners for weeks before this. That seems to be the cart before the horse, because people asked us what's going on, we had nothing to say. I'm also concerned about the resident from Groton who came up here and said the three written correspondence that they got from the organization, and then the 3 phone calls. And I would request tonight, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, again, that you give us detailed maps of the parcels that you have contacted and the list of people that you have contacted in our town. So if they have questions, they can ask our town hall, our town manager, and our Board of Selectmen. And they can also provide to us, because I'm presuming that what you used in Groton's correspondence is similar, if not identical, to what you used in Lunenburg. If you would provide us a packet of every single piece of correspondence, first contact, second contact, third contact, so we can review what information the property owners are receiving. And I'd like to get your commitment tonight that you will get that in a timely manner, timely meaning like in the next, by the end of this month. I don't know if anybody's prepared to give that, but certainly that's what I would be looking for. And I don't want to speak for members of my board, but I believe that's what they were asking for as well.
Yeah, I have no problem sending it. Selectmen, I have no problem sending you the letters. They would be a generic letter. They wouldn't be addressed to the landowner, but it would be a typical letter that we would have sent. So I have no problem sending that to you. So I'll absolutely commit to that.
For the property list and the exact properties that you are looking at, because obviously, if you're contacting property owners, that means you have a parcel map that you're working from. If you're working for a parcel map, as an elected official, or somebody who's doing work in our town of a major proportion, I would like to see that.
But as Alan mentioned earlier, that route is still dynamic, that we absolutely plan to give you that list of alignment sheets. It'll be public information after you file.
So I will think that short term is enough, and will not provide that. So you have to So lastly, you talk about people providing protection, real estate agencies that provide protection. I would remind people in Lunenburg and anybody in the Winnebago area that, yeah, we did rely on the DPU to help us about 6 years ago. They didn't do such a great stellar job. So part of us having a little bit of suspicion about their ability to protect us in cases like this, with the pipeline going through. Last comment, what other people have said, also I just want to echo, that really this is the wrong direction. I mean, renewable energy is the way to go. And you know what, we're lucky here that we don't have the Marcellus Shale to deal with, because we don't have to face the idea of fracking in our state. But I know from reports all across the country about what fracking does, and what one of the previous speakers has said. And if we build a pipeline, it just promotes polluting of other places in the country, and certainly I can't support that.
And well. But I still have some questions because your calendar of events has changed. And initially you were going to go to DPU in June so that you could get permission from DPU to survey properties. This has not happened, and a significant number of properties have not given you access to survey. So now your schedule has changed and you're going to pre-file with FERC without having surveyed properties. To my U.S. representatives, you were looking for something to do on this project. Representative Saunders said, well, when it gets to the federal level, I'll do something. This is what you can do. Don't allow FERC to take an incomplete project. So, if you're not going to DPU in June, how are you going to get permission to survey properties?
Good evening, Roberta. We are planning to file with information that we can gain, both from you as landowner, from those properties that we have been able to gain access to. We're going to continue to ask those neighbors if we can have access to your property. And we'll have to file with what information that we get. As part of the process, I've already went into a long dissertation, I'm not going to do it again, but at the very end of the day, if the federal government does say that this project goes forward, and if they do, grant us a certificate of public convenience. And we talked about eminent domain. Not something that we wanted to go on, but at that point, if we needed to still get access to properties, that's how we'd have to get access. And from now until then, I would pledge to you that we would continue to work with you to satisfy your needs, answer any questions, and listen wholeheartedly to your concerns.
The town of Ashby owns a piece of property that you have on your proposed route. It is a piece that has been set aside for conservation. Your request to survey includes geological surveys, which require a truck-mounted drill and several other trucks to get onto the property and drill. This is a completely wooded property. How are you going to get on there without building a road? Who's going to get compensated for the wood that you take down? Who's going to mark the trees? What kind of route are you going to use to get on these properties? These are the kinds of questions that people have about their properties, and it is why Baseline, despite opposition to the pipeline, it is why Baseline, no one will allow you to survey without answers to those questions.
And I'd be happy, that's a very good question, and I'd be happy to discuss it with you. There's really two types of geological investigations. One, we didn't get into a lot of details, and I won't take your time now, but one of those is a cultural investigation, which is subsurface, which involves digging by hand. So that would be disturbance of the soil. That would not involve any tree cutting, would not involve any trucks, would not involve any damages, unless of course it was a corn crop or something of that nature. That is one kind of geological investigation. The other kind is generally as you described, and it involves work where we have to do some coring for a horizontal directional drill. We, and I can attest to this because it's part of my responsibility, have not asked a single landowner on this project for access of that kind. So, to answer your question clearly, cultural investigations, as we currently have asked every landowner, would cover cultural excavation by hand, by archaeologists. No one yet has been asked for any corn, removal of trees or otherwise.
the information sheet that was given to property owners that.
I understand.
Okay, so how would, you know,
Thank you.
Lunenburg Board of Selectmen. At the meeting of July 15th, you talked to us, and one of my major concerns is, I asked a question whether or not going to conservation, and the answer was no. However, the broad corridor you showed us clearly goes through environmentally sensitive areas, wetlands, and streams. From the selectmen's standpoint, the Conservation Commission wants an opportunity to review, so does the Board of Selectmen. There are property owners in our community that are affected, as well as natural resources. You talked tonight about how you're willing to work with this and how you want to share information. Yet when we ask for that information, you're unwilling to give it. So I have a very hard time as an elected official representing my constituents. You have an obligation to share that information. The town of Lunenburg is comprised of 3 main water bodies, as well as numerous streams and wetlands resources. And we do not, at this point, know what of those resources are being affected. Because it's all guesswork. Because yes, you've given us a broad corridor, but you've given us no specifics. I understand it's dynamic. However, we have no information on which to base our caution. You're telling us you're willing to work with us. You're telling us of all good things that you've done in other communities. Yet you won't give us basic facts. So we cannot represent ourselves effectively. And by the time you file, it's going to be too late for us to argue against an alternative route because we haven't been given the facts. And by then, it's going to be written in stone.
Yeah, I think we want to respond to that and talk about this.
Well, Lunenburg is specifically where we take off out of Townsend. We're looking at, right now, the route is to the east of the power line corridor. So at this point, we're looking at possibly routing down the power line corridor. So we're still evaluating options specifically to this lateral here. So when we get a little more information, we are willing to sit down and share what we have with you. But right now, we are looking at a potential route down the power line corridor and evaluating that versus the other. I don't know the mechanism we would have, but we'd be willing to come in and look at the routes we're looking at and get some input on that.
I know we're out of time, but one final comment, and I know that one of the selectmen had made a point about it's taken time to get around to all of the different communities, and this is our 25th meeting we've had like this tonight, and I have been at every one of these meetings personally. And the team you are looking at here are not PR consultants, they're senior managers at the company that are actually going to build this project and that manage our current operations. And the reason it's taken us time to get around is because I wanted the people that are coming out here to be people that can go back to do the jobs, that can hear your concerns. And me, as an executive with the company, believe me, I'm bringing these concerns back to everyone that's involved with this project. And that's the commitment you have from us, is we're here to listen, and believe me, we are listening to what you have to say. And we've done a lot of route adjustments based upon input from these meetings. This is a dynamic process that begins in September and goes for a long time. And I'm committing on behalf of our team that the folks you are seeing here and the folks you're going to see, and you know that I've been to every one of these meetings and have been responding here for hours and hours of questions. You may not agree with everything we're saying, but we're doing our best to stand up here, listen, and some pretty tough comments that you have, but you're talking to the people that are managing the project, and we are listening.
Your only concern is the acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is.
Well, thank you so much